Okay, so this morning we're going to be looking at general, technical and specialized products. I take it everybody's had a chance to download the material and have a look at it before the time. So let's go through and have a look here. We're going to be looking at the different products that we're looking at are the loose key taps, demand taps, metering taps, thermostatic mixers, and then the electronic taps and mixers. So to start off with, we'll have a look at the loose key taps, and as the heading there says in red there, they are only available in 15 and 20 millimeter heavy pattern. Now, where would you use a loose key tap? You would only use it on areas where the public have got access, but that it's not supervised. So for instance, on a garage forecourt. Now these days, most of your filling stations are open 24 hours a day. So they wouldn't have to do that because there is somebody in supervision all the time. But where there is a filling station that does close, and there's nobody at night there, then they would ideally put one of these. Now, is it a nice to have? No. SANS 10252 Part 1 specifies that where you have an open area like that, you must make facility for the tap where the handle can be removed, or that you've made facility for it to be able to lock. Now, I'm sure you guys have all seen these like galvanized pipe sections and all sorts of things that people have made to put over the tap so that they can lock it up. And that would also be fine according to SANS, but this is now already available tap with a removable handle. Also, if you in a townhouse complex, for instance, where you've got a tap on the outside of your house, but where other people have got access to it, you don't want to let other people take some of your water that you are paying for to water their gardens. Then it's ideal to have a tap like this. On the right hand side, you'll see we also have a stopcock with a removable handle, and this is ideal where you don't want people to tamper with your municipal water connection, where you get these nice cute little kids. We were one of them also that played tok-toki and all sorts of things. I don't know if kids these days still do it, but we used to go and turn off people's water and see the panic happen. So this would be that they couldn't do it. And I believe these days it's also a way that the robbers lure you out of your house. They actually turn off the water, and when you come out to see what's going on, then they have an armed robbery there. So this would be great to stop that type of thing from happening. So if we have a look at this section, it's an extract from SANS 10252 Part 1, and it's subsection 5.3 about terminal water fittings. So it says there, terminal water fittings installed outside any building other than a residential dwelling. So SANS doesn't say that it's got to be at your house, but it is nice to have it. If you have got an open yard without a fence in front, if somebody still has a yard like that, but it says then that it should incorporate a self-closing device. So it'll either be a metering or a demand tap. Now, normally you're not going to put your garden hose onto a metering or a demand tap. It's just not practical. The other one then is to have a removable handle for operating purposes, or you must be able to lock it to prevent unauthorized use, or be of a demand type that limits the quantity of water discharged in each operation. So there. It's either demand or metering taps, or have a removable or lockable section. The next one we'll have a look at is demand taps, seeing as we've just spoken about demand taps. Now, where would you use a demand tap? And I know a lot of people have said that yes, you can use a demand tap in a public area, for instance at the basins, so that people don't leave the taps open. But the problem is, how do you then wash your hands at a tap like that? Because you cannot hold the tap down and have water flowing and wash your hands. So it's not ideal in a public area like that. You would rather use this as a drinking fountain where people would just drink water. So these taps also, if you have a look at that head part at the bottom left hand side, you can see there the head part is available as a spares item. Let me just highlight this quickly. The problem then is that this head part will fit into any heavy pattern half-inch tap, but you're not allowed to have reseated the tap. And we can have a look at this cut-through picture. The area from there, to the seat is very critical because this doesn't move at all, that section there. So if you've reseated and cut the seat lower down, then this bottom rubber is not going to seal, and you cannot then use this tap. So it would have to be a tap that hasn't been reseated. So yes, you can retrofit from this or from any other half-inch heavy pattern tap to demand if you wanted to, but vice versa is also. If you've got a filling station that have had these fitted but are having problem with vandalism because the people cannot keep the taps open, you can take this out and put a normal screw down tap head part in there. There, reseating obviously is not a problem because screw down is fine. So you could use any of your 80 series head parts, and preferably it would be an 81 because you don't want an undertile head part on there even though it would fit. So a demand tap is exactly what it says. While you're pushing it, the water will come. So water flows on demand. The other one is your metering tap, and that is more suitable for your public areas. Once you've pushed it, you will get a metered amount of water, and it's adjustable, fully adjustable between 1 and 20 seconds water flow. So when you get it, it is not set. They have to set it on site because that flow time very much depends on what water pressure you have in the system. So you get it and then you would adjust it to the time period that you want. This tap also complies to SABS because it has a non-hold open feature. So while you are pushing it, no water will fly. When I say fly, I mean flow. I don't know why I'm talking in gibberish here today, but water will flow only once I release the button. So while I'm holding it down, water will not flow at all. We cannot, however, retrofit this onto any other tap because it's got a unique body. So once I've got a metering tap in, I can't change it to screw down, and I can also not upgrade a screw down to a metering tap. This head part will only fit in that dedicated body there. Okay, these also come with a flow restrictor in this bottom section over there, which limits it down to 10 liters per minute. So you could then, or you don't have to have a flow restrictor on the outlet of the tap there. The next one we have a look at there is your thermostatic mixers. The very top one that we have there, you can see it's a great big beast and not very pretty because it's not nice and chrome plated or anything like that. But that would be more for industrial type of installation, or you could have it in a gym shower or something similar to that. It has on your inlet and your outlet, it facilitates 3 different sizes of piping there automatically. The inside of the fitting is already screwed for 25mm or 1 inch. The actual cap and lining is 32mm, and then the nut section over there is 40mm. So you can connect to any size piping really, because okay, yes, you can bush it up and I can step it down or whatever, but standard threading on there is 25, 32 and 40mm. Okay, I've got a question here, which side is hot and which side is cold? And yes, we can't like usual say hot is on the left and cold is on the right, because which side is the front and which side is the back of this mixer? So the way to remember it is, on the section where the handle is, you have your cold water coming in. On this side where the cartridge is your hot water inlet. Okay, so if you swap it around, this mixer is not going to work, because inside your little selection, it's going to read that maybe your mixer is too cold and it's going to open the hot water port, but now you've got cold water connected to the hot water port, so it's not going to work at all. So it has to be connected correctly. You also have to fit inline strainers and non-return valves to this unit, otherwise you are going to get cross-fixture siphonage and all that type of thing. Okay, I've had a request that I need to write the sizes on the page, so yes, sorry, I don't know, these pointers are never great for writing. You've got 28, 32 and 40 millimeter connection sizes. Okay, I hope that makes it clear. When we do the more detailed next level of training, we'll put line drawings, cut-throughs, working samples and so forth in. So this is just to give you a basic outline of the ranges and what they can and can't do. What is nice also about this mixer is that it has anti-scald and anti-freeze. When I say anti-freeze, it's not going to prevent the whole system from freezing up, but while you are using it, you won't by accident only get cold water through or just boiling hot water through, because it keeps it mixed. So what would happen is, if you have hot water cut for some reason, then the mixer will automatically try and add more hot water, which there is none. So by default, it will automatically close the cold water port. It's not instantaneous. It does take a while, but not a while like in minutes. It's within like half a second or so. It will shut it off. I see there's a question also if this has recently been changed like that. No. Ever since I've been with Cobra, we've always machined it that way. But this is where the grower mixer, which is the next ones down, come in, where you get your turbostat thermostatics, because that reacts much faster than the average one. So where I said ours reacts in about half a second or so, as far as I remember, theirs is 0.3 of a second that it reacts. Eugene is just quickly doing a research for me just to double check me there. But yes, it's about half the amount of time. What is also nice on ours, on the hot water side, which we mentioned is on your picture, the right-hand side here, that would get very hot. So you could burn yourself because you're getting your 60, 65 degree temperature water through there, where the grower ones have got the cool touch version on there, where the porting is done in such a way that would never get hotter than 38 degrees on the body. Yes, the actual water coming out of the outlet, you can set hotter than 38 degrees by changing the adjustment there. But yes, the body itself is not going to get that much hotter. It also has a safety switch on there, so it would automatically stop at 38 degrees, which is normally about an acceptable temperature for most people, because your body temperature is somewhere between 34, 37, and even 1 degree difference can feel quite hot. So most people shower in a temperature between 38 and 42 degrees Celsius. So it comes with a standard security lock at 38 degrees Celsius. And you'll see here on the side is a button where you can override it, and over there also. So it'll stop there, but you can physically override it to get a hotter temperature. I take, for instance, if you had to use this in an area where you want to wash your hair. Now, most people can't take that very hot water on top of your head, especially people like myself where you don't have a lot of hair left on the top of your head. It's a lot more temperature sensitive, if you want to put it that way. So, yes, you can turn the temperature down. Eugenia has confirmed that it is 0.3 of a second for the grower reaction time there on the turbostat. The grower therm also comes with some new features. It's got the quick fix, so it's easy to take it on and off. It's got the ergonomical metal shaped knobs, so it fits nicely in your hand. It hasn't got any sharp edges and so forth that you need to put up with. Then you've got your turbostat, which we've spoken about already. And the markings on the new one is much bigger. So on the old one, the markings were a little bit small, so you couldn't always see very clearly. Now they've made the markings a lot bigger also. It also now comes with a 90-degree ceramic head part for the shower unit, so your adjustment is much quicker. So you don't have to screw it up and down as much. So on your other one, it was 432-degree turn. Now you can get the shower one only a 90-degree turn. Okay. The thermostat features for your wash basins is that it's got the outlet in the middle. So you could have either a swivel spout out there, you could have a hand shower, for instance, all that type of thing on there. If you have it for a bath, you'd have a hand shower. If it's for a basin, for instance, for a medical type of installation, then you would have a underslung spout on there. So which is also important, is the outlet comes out the bottom and not the top, so it would drain fully. Okay, there are two new outlets. That'll be your swivel spouts. It's 115 and 175 millimeter. So yes, you get a variety of spout sizes that you can find there. Gary has asked us here to please explain measuring Legionella. You don't really measure Legionella. You have a temperature range in which Legionella will grow. So if you constantly have water in a temperature range between 28 and 58 degrees Celsius. So if you store it in that temperature area, then Legionella will grow in nutrient-rich sources. That's why also, if we have a look at the previous slide for the KD, you'll see that there's a return port on there. So you could have a cycle or a ring feed, which you would have at, say, your 38 or 40 degrees Celsius. Now that's slap bang in the middle of where Legionella grows. So if you have it in a ring feed type of scenario, you would have to once a week do a cleansing cycle, which you bring the temperature up between 60 and 65 degrees Celsius to do a cleansing so that it would kill the Legionella and then bring it down. That's why it's not always recommended to do a KD mixer in a ring feed, because we know South Africans do not do maintenance, so Legionella is likely to grow there. It is better to have this mixer closer to your terminal point. So you would have your hot water at 60, 65, your cold water coming in, so you don't have Legionella in any of the lines feeding up to your thermostatic mixer, and then you have your blended outlet going to your short dead legs, so water is not permanently stored in that temperature range. Between showers it's going to cool down and the Legionella will not start growing there. If you guys want to make a note, just a quick one, between 70 to 80 degrees Celsius is your disinfection range, where Legionella is immediately killed. At 66 degrees Celsius, Legionella dies within 2 minutes. At 60 degrees Celsius, Legionella dies within 32 minutes. At 55, it dies between 5 to 6 hours. Up to 50, it can survive, but it does not multiply. Between 35 and 46 is your ideal growth range. And then between your about 28 to 50, but the specs actually says between 20 and 50, it will grow, but it will grow slower. But below 20, it will lie dormant or not grow at all. Also, your rod size, or the sizes of your little Legionella bacterial sizes, is between 2 to 20 microns. Okay, so that is, it's fairly small. Now, also for Legionella, nothing's going to happen to you if you drink water with Legionella in there, because it gets ingested and your body's chemicals and so forth will kill it. The problem is where you have showered water, where it's vapor in the area around you, and you breathe it in. It gets into your lungs, and you end up with Legionella pneumonia, which gives you flu-like symptoms. Now, we'll do a whole section on Legionella for everybody, but this is just giving you the broad outline on Legionella, just trying to answer what Gary has asked there. Okay, we've already mentioned about the metal handles, but it's not a smooth metal handle. It's got that little bit of a wing on it, on that section over there, but once again, it doesn't have sharp edges. It's rounded, so you won't hurt yourself on there. And we've mentioned about the quick fix and that type of thing, so I think that is all covered. So being metal handles, obviously they're strong. The quick fix means that you can fit and decouple it very quickly. And then your turbostat, yes, if I read my own notes, I would have seen it as 0.3 seconds. But yeah, obviously I wasn't focusing very well. It's got the safety stop, as we've said, between 35 and 43. The factory set then is 38 degrees, but we can adjust that. Cool touch. Once again, the body will only get up to 38 degrees Celsius. Okay, any questions so far on the thermostatics? If you can just pop your hand up or text us if you've got any questions on that before we go on to electronics. It doesn't seem to be any questions on there, so let's go forward. So in Grower and in Cobra, you have got electronic taps and mixers, and most of them work on infrared sensors. So just to explain infrared, it's a light that you don't really see by eye, but it is there because you don't see a red beam coming out of the tap. It's an invisible to the human eye, but that eye, which is this little lens section on the front of your mixers, it sends out an infrared beam, and if it doesn't get bounced back, it knows that there's nothing in front of it. But as soon as you put your hand or an object in front of it, the light gets bounced back. So why do we see a color? For instance, if you see something that's blue, it means that that object is reflecting only blue light back at you. It's absorbing everything else. Now, infrared would be bounced towards you. Your skin or whatever subject or object you're putting in front of it would absorb everything, but it wouldn't absorb infrared. So the infrared would get bounced back, and part of that sensor has got a receiver. So once you bounce the infrared back, it sees it and it knows that there's something in its way, and it reads that as a trigger, which would then turn on the solenoid valve to dispense water to you. We will go into a whole more complex thing about exactly how they work, your settings and all that type of thing, but just to keep in mind that there are certain scenarios like ranges, type of lighting, power supplies and so forth that we need to keep in mind when we use electronic taps. Okay, you'll see on some of the electronic taps, you do not have anything on the side where you can blend the water. So that would be for pre-blended or cold water only. Some of them have got a little lever on the side where you can then blend the hot and cold water. And that's just a mechanical blending valve similar to your single lever cartridge. It does not shut the water off, but it only blends. A solenoid valve would then turn your hot and cold water on still. This one on this right-hand side is a mechanical blending valve, not a thermostatic valve, just a mechanical blending valve. It has non-return valves on the hot and cold inlet ports of it, so that you don't get cross-fixture contamination, and then you have the outlet on the side. This little nut on the side, you can loosen, move it more to the hot or the cold side depending on the blend you want, the same as moving your lever, and then lock it in place so that it won't accidentally get changed there. The subcomponents of your electronic valves is the eye, which does most of the work in the seeing or sensing of it. Then you've got your solenoid valve, which is the same type of thing as you have on all your dishwashers, washing machines, anything like that, where you've got a switch that turns water on and off. And then you have your power supply, which we have in this case is a transformer. We've got the transformer with a battery backup, and you've got the plain transformer, and you've got battery supply. Just one thing to mention, when specifying electronic infrared taps, if it's in an area where people are going to be walking with these reflective jackets, you know, with the high visibility strips on them, don't spec something with the infrared eye facing forward. Rather have something with an eye like this spout over here that faces down. Because otherwise, when you walk past the taps, those reflective strips work as mirrors, and you walk past the basins and turn the taps on and off. So that is one thing definitely to keep away from, but we'll go more into detail when we do that type of thing. Obviously then you get your remote that adjusts most things on this side here, or you've got your soap dispenser. That's one thing we didn't mention just now, is that yes, we have a soap dispenser. We have two in actual fact, one with this style. So it's got the soap dispenser in the front, and then you've got the other one which has got the droopy spout, the 3011, and that has also got a soap dispenser in there. Some nice features about the Cobratron soap dispensers is that it does not have the ability to drip soap. Now, often you'll see that's the biggest problem, that in front of all these soap dispensers, you have a little pool of soap forming. It's because on our soap dispensers, just before it finishes, it goes into reverse mode and actually sucks the soap back. So it will not drip. Another problem that you have is that the soap dries. If you don't use it for a while, the soap dries inside that little tube section, and then it blocks up and you can't use the soap dispenser. So that's not a problem either. And then the soap dispensers are not sensitive to the viscosity or thickness of the soap used. Yes, you can't put a bar of soap in and expect it to pump it up, but any of your liquid type soaps, so your gels and your liquids and so forth, it would be able to use. On your grower electronics, there's a nice feature also that you have your power box. So that generates electricity continuously while you are using the water. So inside this box here, you have a little generator or turbine, which as the water flows through, it actually charges up a supercapacitor, which then stores electricity, so that when you use the tap again, there's enough electricity to switch it on and off. Now, obviously, if it stands for quite a while, the supercap does discharge while it is standing. So inside there is a battery supply just to sort of start it off until the turbine can start creating electricity. So it's not completely maintenance free. You have to go and change the battery from time to time. But if it's regularly used, that battery is almost unneeded because the supercapacitor will stay full. The power box doesn't only have to be used on cold water supplies. You can use it on hot and cold, and we can see this on this installation drawing here. But instead of being on the direct supply that feeds the water, it now gets plumbed onto the supply that goes to the spout. So the mixer that uses the power box, if it's a mixer, hot and cold, it would have 4 tubes coming from the mixer. So you can't just put it on any mixer. It has to be a specific mixer, which you can then have the power box on the hot and cold. Otherwise, you could use a normal mixer, but just put it into, for instance, just the cold water line. So it would only be charging up the super cap while you are using cold water. But I think it's safe to say that in most of your usage of a mixer, there would be cold water flowing. So you could get away with just the power box with a normal mixer, but plumbed onto your cold water line only. Just once again, just breaking it down, you'll see there's your solenoid valve, which will open and close your water flow. The little dynamo or generator is in there. And there's your battery supply with your supercapacitor and its charging system over there. We've covered most of this next slide, so I'm not going to go too much into that. So it just explains it a little bit more. And as we've said before, once the supercapacitor is charged up fully, it's got about 100 hours of energy inside there. So it is quite sufficient to use something like this, and surely you are going to use your tap once every 3 days at least. But where the problem comes in is if you've got a holiday house which stands for quite a while, for months at end, that you need to just have a battery just to start it up again, and after that it will be charged. As it says here, it takes 260 seconds of water flowing to fully charge the supercapacitor. So it's about 2.5 minutes. No, I lie. It's about 4.5 minutes worth of water flow, and then it is fully charged up again. There's your different versions. Your Euro Eco, which is in your Cosmopolitan electronic mixer, your Euro Smart, which is the blended one, and the Euro Plus range also. Your Euro Smart and Euro Plus obviously is the mixers with the 4 hoses on there. As it mentions, there's a control lamp that tells you when it's charged and all that type of thing, but normally this would be under a basin, and most people aren't going to be looking down to see what is happening underneath the basin there. Yes, these power boxes don't come standard as a separate sales item that you need to sell and keep in mind with your electronic mixers. So yes, it is an optional extra. Ladies and gents, if there are no other questions, we've come to the end of this session. And if we can just indicate if there are any questions, anything you want us to go through or review. And remember, if you don't ask any questions, I'm going to start asking some questions. Okay, I've got a question. How many Cobra thermostatic mixers are available still? I'm not sure how many there are in total. If I just have to quickly count on my hands, you've got your 3000, 3001, 30, 1, 30, 11, sorry. Thermostatic mixer. Sorry, I'm reading this wrong. Thermostatic Cobra is just the one, just the KD. Okay, and then in your grower range you've got the other mixers. The Cobra one is discontinued, the 862 type of mixer. We are looking apparently at putting those back in again. Okay, I see Johan Slabbert. Yeah, Johan Slabbert has mentioned that your SA862 Medi is still available. I'd have to check that. I'm not too sure. I thought all the 862s had been discontinued, but I'm speaking under correction. Tammy says that they've activated the SA862 Medi, so yes, Joanna's correct. The SA862 is available again as a mixer. So there will be now 2 mixers, thermostatic mixers that are available. One, the SA862 Medi, and the KD 2.204, which is your more industrial use item there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if there are no other questions, then I thank you very much for your time. I see of the 50 people that registered, we had at least 41 people. So again, I'm going to encourage everybody, please only register for the sessions that you are going to attend. Otherwise, there could be people that want to register for these sessions and that can't get in, can't register for it, and then have to take the alternative slot, which may not be a convenient time for them. Also, please, if you are attending, register and log in from your own unit, because we get that registration report and that goes through to HR, and they then keep that on record of people that have attended it or haven't attended. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time then, and